Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to Birds of a Feather with your girl, AJ, the Suburban Princess, here because I'm so excited to deliver some great chat about how this whole weekend has mapped out for our birds. Birds of a Feather. I don't even want to know what number I'm on now at this point. I just say Birds of a Feather. Welcome, welcome. AJ Radio Caller, AJ Suburban Princess, Girly Virgo 78. You know, all my little shout outs to all my social media pages, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But all that out of the way, welcome to another week of football with our Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, that's right. We are going into another week in the playoffs. This time it is the conference championships. And we haven't done this since, I think, 2008, they said. I thought it was 2013 because I know that was the last time I know Nick Foles played the main QB, backing up, I think, Vic at the time. Or maybe he was just on his same year where he was the main quarterback and for whatever reason, defense could not hold and they could not defend to keep the lead that they had in the second half against the Saints, who just lost to the Minnesota Vikings in a wonderfully up and down yo-yo fourth quarter that ended up with a spectacular catch at literally the last seconds of the game by Stefon Diggs to end the whole dang on thing. I mean, it looked like for a while that the Vikings were going to be going home. They seemed like they blew a couple plays early on in the last minutes of the fourth quarter, and then the Saints were able to get a kick. So you thought, okay, I guess we're going to be seeing the Saints come to Philly. Well, no, just like I was hoping, the Vikings. I really, at one point, and I'm not even going to lie, in the beginning, I did think if the Eagles got this far, it would be the Saints, because I thought, how funny would that be for Nick Foles to be the backup quarterback playing now, this time for Wentz, and having to face the same team he played last time he played it in Eagleville in the playoffs, to be against the Saints again. But as luck would have it, it had to be more of a turn up in terms of championship, in terms of a competition. So this time the Vikings will be coming to Philly, and that's fine. If they want to turn half of the length purple while the rest of us make it black and green, depending on what uniforms the Eagles decide to wear, I'm hoping it's black. But I feel like Nick Foles is a newer version of himself because he's been battle tested. He's been up and down. He's been off the team and back on the team. And at this point, I think he's been through so many mental head trips that this game is probably exactly what he needs to jolt himself back into a QB position. But unlike how I was feeling in December, I'm not really relying on him to bring this win home. I'm relying on the defense. I really do feel like this is going to be a defensive win for the Eagles, and I do not think it's going to be as unexciting of a score as it was when the Eagles just won yesterday. Thank God, beating out the Atlanta Falcons in what seemed like it was going to be a grudge match, and by a score of 15-10, which was really boring score, but it was a very, very telling win by the Eagles because they did not quit. And unlike the Steelers today, who just took a big fat L by the Jacksonville Jaguars, who literally walked into their house and stole their soul, the Eagles came back and still maintained running the ball with Ajayi and Blunt and Corey. And even if they only scored once, and for whatever reason Jake Elliott missed that first kick, wherever they messed up, they made up for it in a defensive play, an offensive first down, or Jake Elliott's foot. So because of that fight that the Birds showed in the last half, I'm not scared about the Vikings coming. I do say they're a great team. I will not be shocked if the Eagles lose. But I see that they also had some major injuries to some of their O-line, as well as to some of their defensive end people. So that may be a good thing. It may not. Who knows? But there are some players that are going to be gimpy. But it looks like the Minnesota Vikings know how to defend, and they definitely know how to space themselves out. So I'm praying that the wide receivers get a lot more play in this game, but I'm also really more solely focusing on the defense showing up and defending the house, basically, defending the nest, should I say. That was one of the cute little memes that I saw the week of the Falcons game, was defend the nest, and the Eagles did. Yes, it was not a sexy score, like I said, but hell, at this point, I look back at it now. I thought this team would be 8-8, at the best 10-5, because they couldn't, to me, be no worse than 7-9, especially with a more seasoned Carson Wentz. Did I think he was going to go down? Hell no. No one thought Carson Wentz was going to go down. No one thought Carson Wentz and his team would actually get to a 13-3 record. And when Carson went down, they were what, 10-2 or 10-1 or something like, or 11-1. Either way, they had pretty much come into their own. And I think with Carson going down, not saying it was the right time, but it was around the time that at that point most of the hard competition had went out the window. So the Eagles would only be beating themselves if they lost to any of these other teams the rest of the year. And I'm very glad that every single win made sense. Now, yes, the Dallas game, they should have probably at least been able to score at least a field goal, but I really don't think they were really planning that game to be a win or lose. I think they just showed up, and I don't think, unfortunately, they showed out enough to at least get on the board. Everyone can throw that away. I mean, week 17, no one's really playing, so I mean, yes, it sucks to lose in your house after we've had a pretty much unstoppable record. But technically we are undefeated now because you start a whole new clean slate when you start in the playoffs. So technically the Eagles are 1-0. So they are undefeated. So we're looking to go 2-0 next Sunday night at 6:40. Now, who would have thought after this whole unpredictable year has unraveled and as many injuries as the Eagles have had to the team early on, did anyone really predict that we would even get this far? I said one and done. I did. I'm not even going to lie. I'm not even going to front like I didn't say that. But, I mean, no one really probably even thought we'd get it this far. There were people talking playoffs before we had even gotten through the first full month of games. I didn't see the playoffs. I damn sure didn't see the Super Bowl. And now here we are within a week or two of that possibly happening. So I tell you one thing, this weekend of playoff games has been the most exciting. I mean, I'm very excited actually to see on the AFC side, to see how the Jacksonville Jaguars play in New England, because I really do think that they are not afraid of that crowd. They are not afraid of Tom Brady. They are not afraid of any of their players, which makes it even more exciting to watch. Hopefully it will not be basically what they put on the Titans this weekend, which was predictable because the Titans really shouldn't have been in the running because Mariota's team is not fully ready anymore. And he just needs a lot of new blood, and he needs a better coaching staff. So even though that coach did deserve to be extended, what happens to be the newest rumors that he has been extended when they were ready to toss him, I think they just need a whole new team. So maybe that might help Mariota, because I would think by now Mariota would be one of those top 5 ingenues that are breaking out, and seems like his progress is going backwards. So I don't know if that's him or if that's the team. I don't know. But either way, the Titans should be better than what they are. So maybe next year. Now, it already looks like other teams are already starting to fine-tune themselves as now it winds down to the last 4 teams in the NFL. It just got reported that the Bills hired somebody from the Alabama coaching staff to be their offensive coordinator. So that's a good look on every level for the Bills, because they shouldn't have played as poorly as they did in their playoff round. So there's a lot of people who surprisingly got eliminated very quickly. I'm not shocked that the Steelers lost, simply because I think they really thought that Jacksonville would not be competition, and all they were was competition from pretty much the first half till halftime, when they were up like 21-0 or something. And that's when I finally realized that, yeah, the Steelers have mentally checked out, or just Ben has checked out, and no one else is following suit except for Antonio Brown, who seemed to run through everybody. You know, he's coming back from a major injured calf, and, you know, it affects his speed, but yet he was the one who had the most spectacular catches all game. So what I've learned through these whole 2 days of football is that you can never count the visiting team out, and you really can't count the home team out, because honestly, like I said before, no one saw that kind of ending for the Vikings game. I mean, that last 61-yarder throw from Case Keenum, of all people, to Stephon Diggs was not supposed to happen. In fact, now it's being looked at that one of the guys on the Saints, Mike Williams, should have been tackling to prevent Stephon from being that open. But he was able to keep his feet as soon as he got that ball and just took it to the house, which wasn't too far from him at that point. I mean, most players usually can't even keep on their feet once they catch a ball that high, but he's skilled. He's truly a professional player, and, I don't know if they've extended him. If they have, he deserves every bit of that money. And if not, they will now. So we'll see how these cats, how open they are once they get on Eagle turf. Hopefully, maybe Sidney Jones will get in there, if Jalen Mills gets burnt too much. But I don't know. I didn't get to really watch the full play of yesterday's game. But I know that was a question of whether or not Jalen overcompensates for most of his coverage. And mind you, he was there for the very last play that could have really taken the Eagles' hearts out, but it didn't because, unfortunately, Matty Ice overthrew Julio. And, he didn't overthrow him, excuse me. Julio just totally missed the ball and went right through his hands. So I do believe at that point, I agree with someone I just heard on the radio tonight saying that that's when you knew it was in the fate of the Eagles, in fate's hands for the Eagles, that they were destined to win. Because Julio would make that catch any other time. He's tall enough, he's long enough, he can extend. And for some reason, it just didn't work. And before that, they really could have called pass interference on Jalen because he was pretty much on top of him before he could even get up and reach up for that ball. So he was already off rhythm. But I learned a lot from watching all these games this weekend. I've learned that you can never count any team out. And whereas the first day, it was mostly the home teams that won. And then today it was one away team that won and then one home team that won. I thought it was going to be the away teams winning the whole weekend, but it really was just one out of the two. And that's pretty exciting to watch, especially when you know that a team is who is favored to win usually doesn't. And here we go again. I mean, the Eagles pretty much are the underdogs for the next round as well as they were this game. So, and now that the popularity of the German Shepherd dog mask due to Lane Johnson and Chris Long and all them wearing it as they celebrated, everybody's probably going to have those masks on, I guarantee you, when we work the link next Sunday, because apparently Amazon has sold out of them. So this is going to be a trend for the week, everybody wearing the dog masks. I myself got caught up and bought myself a t-shirt from the website Breaking Tea that says Philadelphia Underdogs. So I gave in. I admit I gave in. But it's fun to get caught up a little bit in the spirit of things. And now that it's been fully announced this week that the Eagles are definitely going to Wembley Stadium in October, I am deciding to join in on following the away crowd to go see them in October. So I'm definitely excited that the next part of my podcast will hopefully be me in London talking about or even showing the sights in London because I've always wanted to go. And it's even more exciting knowing my birds will be there. So I will be too now. So that is something definitely 2018 has opened up that seems like it was pretty much destined on top of a great postseason. But for me to get to go to my dream destination, knowing that my favorite team, and probably the only reason I would go to London this soon, my Philadelphia Eagles going against the Jags in Wembley Stadium in October. So that's exciting. And if you haven't gotten tickets, I suggest you sign up through greenlegion.com because that's what I'm doing. Tomorrow morning by 9, I hope to book my first part of my package and have everything paid off before then. And for my 40th birthday in September, it would be very nice to know that I'm going to be in England the following month. And that's very exciting. So all this to say, like I said, I didn't really see scene by scene of the game yet. I didn't watch the replay of the game that the Eagles won, but it looked like they wanted to win this game desperately. And I don't think that the first half really, to me, dictated the rest of the game. I think it did worry a lot of people in the beginning because it was very slow and they weren't, the first ball that Jay Ajayi runs in and he fumbles it. And to me, all running backs get fumbleitis, especially when they're trying so hard to accumulate yards as well as speed and then trying to get through the tackles. And then you can't control the constant arms that are going and trying to hit you and knock the ball. And eventually they will knock the ball loose. But I think just Jay at that point didn't have a good grip on the ball. But I think that Jay Ajayi has much respect from Doug because he went right back to him. So it wasn't like after that, you just saw Corey the rest of the half. It was Jay Ajayi most of the game, and sometimes LeGarrette Blount, and every now and then it would be, I think they threw in Kenyon Kenyon Barner, excuse me. Wow, Kenyon Martin, that's a basketball player. Never mind. Kenyon Barner, they threw in a couple times. So if there's one thing that seemed crazy at the time when Doug decided to use like 3 or 4 running backs on the roster, now it seems like it makes a lot of sense why he did. Because where Wendell Smallwood wasn't really doing as much, and he would only sub him in toward the end when a lot of the players were pulled and he got, his practice in, whoever else didn't fill the gap, there was always somebody there to pick up the slack. So I think it made sense now, but I don't know if half of those guys will be back next year or if Darren Sproles is going to come back active on the roster or if he's just going to come off the bench. I don't know how they're going to play that, but I would like to think that Darren Sproles would like to stay with the team for the league minimum like Brent Selleck did this year just to, just to fill in the blank. And also just to retire as an Eagle. I don't see Darren going anywhere else, and I wouldn't want him to. He's made such a huge impact since he joined the Eagles, and without his speed, I don't think they get half of the plays that they did the first year that Carson played. So, we definitely would like that veteran space next year, and even if they do decide to, or if Brent Selleck does decide to retire after this year, whether they win the Super Bowl or not, I think that'll be the active space that can slide Sproles back in there if Brent decides to retire. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to look forward to. And all I know is that even though this game had its ups and downs and dramatic endings and dramatic wins, I give props to Matt Ryan because even though he hasn't won more than one time in the link, I do respect him as a player because as a quarterback, he's one of the few people who seems to manage to keep his composure even when he's extremely disappointed with himself or the team. And I think he just accepts some things just happen the way they happen, even if he's pissed, whether he's disappointed, whether he's destroyed because it's his hometown. I think he can take it in stride, and I do believe he will be back. At this point, he's been in the Super Bowl, came this close to winning it, and for him to even come back in the playoffs, which is extremely difficult to do consistently, I do respect him and the Falcons. I do not believe Julio Jones was 100%. I think he's had an ankle issue for most of the season, as well as I think Alshon Jeffrey does too, but Alshon still has to learn to get separation, and I think part of that is because he has a bad ankle. And I think a bad knee too, but either way, I think that's part of Alshon's problem is I don't think he's fully healed all the time either. And I think it's also age. He's been, a Chicago Bear for a long time, so his body could just be wear and tear. Torrey came in at the right time in this game, whereas usually Torrey can be kind of a hindrance sometimes when it comes to the offense. Like sometimes he just can't seem to figure out where he needs to be for the ball sometimes. Yes, he's had some good plays throughout the season, but he didn't consistently become a reliable target until last night. And he was there to get that ball that Foles pretty much almost picked off again, throwing it kind of reckless in space. So once we get Foles to kind of just stay within a 20, 25 attempts for throwing, and we just mostly keep it on the ground, the Eagles have no chance of losing a game without staying with that strategy. It puts less pressure on Foles, and it makes him just become just what he needs to do, just manage the game. And that's all we need him to do. He doesn't have the tricks. He doesn't have the steps. Yes, he almost ran that one touchdown in, but was short. Partially, I think he was a little timid on that, too, because he's probably not used to getting hit directly into the end zone, and that's basically what injured Carson. I give him props for even seeing that lane because he hasn't really been picking up as quickly as he used to when there's empty lanes in order to throw it to the right person. He's missed a lot of people. I think he's starting to slowly get his confidence back. And I think by next game, I think he'll be all the way tuned in mentally. If he does see a throw, I just hope this time he can manage to at least throw it near a person or not into traffic or just trust that they'll be there. So, and like I said, I wasn't able to see all the replay yet, and I know they do replay the games the next night. So hopefully I'll be able to see it tomorrow. Tomorrow also is my debut with my other Twitter family and the Fourth and John guys on Sports Fanatic on USA at 11:30 p.m. So if you are interested in seeing what it's like to have an actor visit the Philly area and see what else he was able to discover about us and our fans and our passion, definitely tune in to Fanatic. I think it's Sports Fanatic, on USA Network at 11:30 p.m. So, But all that I have to say too, the one thing about England and going international with some of these sports is really exciting to see the interaction from people outside of the United States. And with the Sixers just rolling through England, and they've probably been home now for a couple days, but they got a lot of good feedback from a lot of people over in England. And even though they lost the game that they played with the Celtics, and they'll be playing them again this week, I think that it's a good look for Philly in general, I feel like the new vibe that's coming across our sports teams that we were losing for a while and always seemed to be the engine that never could. So now I feel like that shift is happening, and hopefully that shift will take them to Minnesota in a week or two. It would be nice, but I'm thankful that we have another week. I always wanted to work a postseason, and I'm kind of hoping that this is my last season at the Link. I would like to end it on a sweet note, knowing that I was able to witness my Birds in a Super Bowl, especially in a Super Bowl win. And I have no plans to go overseas around the time of the Super Bowl this time. So, because last time I missed it when they were in the Super Bowl, I was in Italy. My sister was having her second baby. So I wasn't able to really see the Super Bowl when it was happening. So it will be really cool to see my Birds playing in Minnesota, just for the sake of just seeing them in the Super Bowl live and in color. And especially with my boy Justin doing halftime and my girl Pink doing the anthem. It's just all around just screams. It just seems like it should be the Eagles, but we'll see. We'll see what our boys do. I just have no doubt that they can at least show up for this game. Every week, I always play cautiously with them, but I also feel like they can do it. I always feel like they can do it, but sometimes, especially the last couple of weeks, especially after the Raiders game, I was really nervous that they were starting to lose a step. So, but I admit it, I'm not one of these people that gets gloom and doom very quickly. I just kind of saw that it was going to be a short run, and I'm glad that I was wrong. So, in saying that, I'm more than happy to say I'm very happy to be a Bird Gang member. I'm very happy to be an Eagles fan, and I'm very happy to witness all this positivity happening with my boys in green. And I'm hoping that they wear black this coming weekend, because I think it's very important to wear black, especially now that I feel like they got their swagger back. So, go Birds. Hit me up on AOL if you feel the need, or tweet me at girlyvirgo78. If not, I thank you for listening. And yes, I will be more amped for the next broadcast. It's just, as I sat here and took in all this wonderfulness that's been developing this weekend, I am now working to a fatigue. And I'm ready for another Monday. I have to get up bright and early so I can start my week and get back into the gym by the end of the day. And hopefully whatever this snowstorm that's supposed to threaten to come Tuesday or Wednesday night won't come. I'm just praying that if it does, that the little painting class I'm supposed to be doing with a friend of mine on Wednesday gets moved to another day. But never mind, not important. Either way, I'm excited. I hope all of you Eagle fans out there are just as excited. And I'm sure I'll be watching little highlights of the game as I lull myself to sleep to start another week, another championship week. We're excited. EAGLES, Eagles. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you on the next issue. Have a good night.